I mean, this story, it's featured on the Philadelphia, Daily News, Philadelphia Inquirer, Philly Mag, New York Times, front page news. Front page, yeah.
This is the story that had to go away. This story, and I'll tell you why. Was the President of the United States had to be involved in this story. Was on his board as the head of the Health and Human Services, and his job is to alert the President of the United States of anything that is of interest or problem that we have. We penetrate the whole healthcare industry. Okay? You're talking about taking down Goliath. Not intentionally, they were exposed. Which, if we could do that, I mean, it's crazy. So they would pile these bodies up. Okay? They would bring in chainsaws, bring in construction equipment, and they would go through these bodies like the scene from Scarface. I don't know if you've ever seen where Tony Montana's friend, they go right through the guy with the chainsaw. That's how they did it with the bodies. They didn't waste any time. They want to get in, get out. Okay? So how did they pull this off? Master Marino had death certificates. Okay? Let me back up. I'm getting all over the place. So they should have had consent forms signed for these bodies. Now, these bodies just didn't come from the funeral homes. They came from all over funeral homes. So let's say you go to XYZ funeral home. They don't have a crematory. So they would use my brother's crematory. So they would type the body down there. So you have all these funeral homes, okay? They're taking bodies down there. They don't know this is going on. So now these bodies get taken from across the street in the crematory, taken over to the funeral home. These guys were so, talk about the devil. There was something in the indictment.
Well, I have that. I have what they say. So in the 103-page grand jury report, they say word for word, for them nothing was beyond the pale, not stealing flesh and bones from the dead or lying to the bereaved, not forging and lying on thousands of documents, and not putting the public's health at risk.
It's worse than that. Let me explain. What they did to those bodies, how they desecrated those bodies.
Described as a butcher shop.
Butcher shop. A house of horrors. I think it's a McCafferty, a chamber of horrors. All right?
House of horrors. Chamber of horrors.
Yeah. Nothing was, Lynn Abraham in her press conference when my brother got indicted with these guys, it was mobbed. And she said, there is no punishment just enough for what these crimes are. Now, you're talking about Philadelphia, city of lawyers. There's a movie called
Can you say that again? Nothing what?
There is no punishment just enough for these crimes. They wanted to put these guys away forever. Ever. Okay? And it was crazy. It was almost like they weren't even going to give them a trial. Like if they could have got them the death penalty, they would have done it.
So tell me, tell me the implications it had on Wall Street, because you mentioned Wall Street. I'm going to
bring you up to there.
Yeah.
I want to continue.
So
let's go back into the funeral where these bodies are being transported across the street into the funeral home and being chopped up. So there was a scene, or the way they describe it, that the two cutters would stick pliers into the bodies around the shoulders and race down the body and pull the skin down as fast they could. They would bed each other.
God.
So now, let's go back to what percent qualify. Only 4% qualify.
4%.
Okay. So there's a dupe going on here. This Master Marino thinks my brother's partners are getting consent forms signed from these families. They never did. But then Master Marino's duping them. And I'll tell you how he did. Now think about this. They're like, fuck it, nobody's going to find out. Their bodies are getting cremated anyway. How's anybody going to find out? This is what he would do. There's two things. Master Marino, when he would take all the body parts, the tissue, the ligaments out of these bodies, and he would take them back to his facility, and I forget what the term is, but he would get them ready, okay, to ship to the company he would sell them to. He sold to 4 companies. But before he did that, companies would require 2 things. 1, a blood sample. Number 2 would be a death certificate. Okay. So, here we go.
I can already see.
It's doctored up.
It's all doctored up. All lied, forged.
All lied. And he would even sign his own name.
How about the blood samples?
He had what was called an OK bag.
OK bag?
Which was good blood. Huh. So he must have given...
Where did he get that from?
The only conclusion I can arrive at, which would make sense, he probably baited the companies because only 4% qualify. Under Michael Mastromarino, 95% qualified. So he probably sent, he probably did it, he baited them with blood, even though he doctored the death certificate up. He said, okay, let me see if let me send this body's blood up and see if it passes. If it doesn't pass, okay, okay, now he knows that blood's no good from that body. But I believe the only thing that makes sense to me is he found a body that had good blood, and he would drain the body like a real life Dracula.
Jesus.
So you could probably, I believe the numbers.
Dracula.
Yeah. This is like, it's crazy. So that's the only thing I don't know. But I believe I'm correct because you can get up to, I believe, 400 vials of blood from one body. Okay? So if I know one body's blood's good, okay, I'm going to drain the body. Now, these guys were such monsters.
They were taking tissue from people who were unsuitable donors, probably had hepatitis,
Yes.
HIV, cancer,
Everything. He would look at the death certificate. He would look at it and say, okay, this person's this, and I forget what the one cause of death is, but a lot of times he would put this one because it passed, and he would change your name, he would change your birth date,
So
he would change everything. So now this body goes back to the crematory. I don't even know. I'll be honest with you. I don't even know if these guys even know who they were cremating the next day. Okay, so he would pile. Well, this is in the indictment, by the way. Okay, in the alley. The only way I can describe this alley that's in back of the morgue, it looks like something from Gotham, like these Batman movies where
Gotham City.
Okay, and this alley's really narrow, and they would open up the gate, and the bombing room door is right to the left, which had no ventilation. So you got a picture, they're chopping bodies up, blood's going everywhere, okay? And they're in there, like with their suits on, and they're chopping these bodies up, and they're just piling the corpses on top of one another out in the alley.
So there was just corpses and corpses of bodies stacked on each other.
Yeah.
10s, 15.
Not 10 or 15. The check register, the most I ever saw. Like I wasn't there. I didn't see, but I read the indictment, which means they had to do it because what would happen is, I think the most I saw was a $10,000 check. So that tells me, okay, 10 bodies were chopped up.
Yeah.
Right? So how they stacked them, you probably could stack 2 or 3 or 4 on a gurney, maybe. So the next morning, okay.
I think I have something written from the grand jury report, to be honest. Much of the work took place in Kensington, Philadelphia, where bodies were left on gurneys in a dingy alley behind the building. Yeah. There's bodies sat in the alleyway for days stacked on top of each other with no refrigeration.
These guys were monsters. That's not even, they're the devil. I mean, I swear to God. And how my brother got caught with this, I didn't believe it at first. I really didn't. Nobody would. And I didn't expect anybody to believe me when I'm telling this story because I wouldn't believe me.